hi to my uncle, Mr. Garth, and take it away.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you. Hello, good morning to all of you. My name is Joey Garth, and this is my interpreter here, Sandy. On signing, she will be voicing. When you talk, then she'll sign to me. So thank you for inviting me here. Thank you so much. So I was born deaf. When I was 2, my parents found out that I was deaf. I went to a deaf school, which is a deaf institute in New York City. It's for kids from kindergarten all the way through high school. I stayed in the dorms there from Monday to Thursday. On the weekend I went home. While I was growing up, the teachers, like all of the teachers, they had a little bit of sign, but they mostly would teach oral, which is talking and trying to kind of sign a little bit, trying to gesture, but mostly would make us try to read lips. So now it's changed a lot. It was, now it's total communication. So that means that they sign and talk at the same time. In the past, when I was growing up, it was, voicing, trying to read lips only, which is called oral. So they wouldn't be allowed to sign in class. Before we went into class, we would sign, and that was fine, but then, even after class also, but during class it was not allowed. The reason is because the Board of Education, they were supporting from like funding and things like that. That's what they wanted. So now today is much different than before. I graduated from high school. I went to RIT in Rochester. And then I worked for AT&T. Guess what I was doing in AT&T? What do you think I was doing? What kind of job? Yes.
On the phone?
Do you think I answered the phone? Hello? Hi. On the phone for 8 hours? No way. I was working for the finance department. For the systems, for computers and things. With different things like payroll, accounting, the taxes, things like that. Different departments in the finances. For 38 years I was working there. After that, well, I have 2 children. My wife is deaf also, and my 2 children are hearing. They both graduated from college. My daughter works as an RN, a nurse, and my son, he works for the federal government in Washington, D.C. They're both really wonderful. And I've been involved in deaf clubs, the Northwest New Jersey Association for the Deaf. So it's involved there is educating students, getting together and doing workshops, and involving the police also, how to communicate between deaf people and the police if they get pulled over. Here's an example here. So this flyer we'll give to deaf drivers and cops too, so that they see it. So if they pull a deaf person over, the deaf person can show this, like with their license, and show this is, like, why did you pull me over? Maybe they, skipped a red light or whatever, so then they can show and like point to the pictures. Now on the back, there's like reading about interpreters, about being arrested, different things like that. I'll give you guys this, so you can keep it if you want. Maybe your uncle or aunt or family or cousin or something, if they're deaf, you can give it to them. Especially the people who are driving. I know you're not driving yet. This is a finger spelling alphabet. So really, it's really important to first learn the ABCs on your fingers. I know, it takes time to study. And then secondly, to sign like family things, like father, mother, sister, brother. Please. Thank you.
They will give you
I'll give you this. And when you meet deaf people, if they're friends or whoever, it'll be easier to communicate with them. It's important to kind of try to communicate at least some gestures or whatever you can do. And that's pretty much it. Do you have any questions for me? I want you all to ask something.
How do your hearing aids help you?
Without
the hearing aid, I'm profoundly deaf. With the hearing aid, I can hear a little bit. It helps with sounds. Not 100% for sure. It depends on the individual, if they match correctly or not. Some people can hear better than me with hearing aids, or cochlear implants also. Good question.
Can you enjoy music? Miss Magner told us you went to see the Blue Man Group.
I love the music.
Yes, I love the music. Yeah. I feel the vibrations when it's really, if there's high bass in the music, I can feel it. I can hear a little bit of the words. If I know the songs, I can follow along.
Were you ever teased for being deaf?
Yes. So my parents grew up in New York City. Well, because everyone was hearing except for me. Sometimes that made me angry. Because my father would say, calm down,
keep cool,
keep it quiet, keep cool. So yeah, I definitely was bullied.
If your family didn't know any sign language when you were little, how did you communicate to them?
So it's not ASL, American Sign Language, so we would have like family home signs that we just kind of made up in home to communicate. It wasn't ASL because they didn't know ASL, so we would do home signs like this would mean later. This, like mustache means dad, so they would do that. He always had a mustache. So that's how we would sign dad. Or glasses. Means my sister, she had glasses. That would be like her name sign. Wears glasses. My sister. So it's kind of like our home signs in the family.
I wish they
would learn ASL. Today, a lot of parents who have deaf children, they will go to class to learn ASL so that they can communicate. It's really important.
While I would work for a telephone
when I was working for the phone company, all of the meetings that they would have, they would not provide an interpreter. It was a person sitting next to me during the meeting. Whenever they would talk, they would write to me what they were saying. They would just write it down. It was never 100% everything that they were saying. It was always very short.
Now we have
interpreters. So it's 100% while the meeting is happening. I understand everything. But really the point is, not all. It's not only deaf, it's for hearing and deaf people. And we can have meetings with everyone. That's the point, is 100% communication so everyone can understand each other.
Did your kids ever try to be sneaky and not use sign language around you so that you couldn't understand them?
Yes.
They're both upstairs.
If they're upstairs, if I'm downstairs on the first floor of the house, they would have a little secret conversation. Or they would talk. Because they're both hearing, so they would talk to each other, so we wouldn't know what they were saying. Sometimes I would catch them. I would say, what are you saying? What did you say? But they wouldn't tell me. Maybe they would just say some other cover, say something else instead.
Are you able to hire someone to be your interpreter, like when you go places?
Like the doctor or...
Yes.
Probably doctor.
Yeah, when I go to the doctor, usually they'll provide an interpreter. anywhere really. Audiologists, if any kind of meetings happen. For example, here, obviously there's an interpreter here. In hospitals, they have interpreters they have to provide. I just want to clarify, you asked, did he bring them? Like, did you hire them yourself?
Well,
No, I don't hire them myself. They are provided through the doctors of the hospitals. Sometimes they will have contacts with agencies that are ASL interpreting agencies, and then the agency will send an interpreter.
Did you play sports? If you did, what was it like for you?
No. Howard,
Yes, I was really a good basketball player. I was the star. I was in the papers a lot for that deaf institute, that school. They followed high schools, different schools. And, like the all-star teams and stuff. I love basketball. And softball and soccer. I'm pretty good at soccer too. Yeah. Deaf can play any sports too. It depends on their interests, obviously.
How do you talk to people in public if they approach you and they don't know sign language?
Well, now, let me not talk.
Hello, how are you? Garth, the past.
So it just depends. If that hearing person is speaking too fast, then I will tell them, slow down, stop, please, talk a little bit slower so that you can understand if they're not understanding you. But usually we'll find a way, on the phone, we'll text back and forth, or we can write back and forth to communicate that way too. One thing, what's really hard for me, if a person has a full beard, it's really hard to see their lips. I'm not so 100% amazing with lip reading, especially with a beard. So it just kind of depends on how people talk if they speak more slowly.
What was one of your biggest challenges when you were little?
I had a lot of different challenges. When I was young, I did an exchange with a hearing high school. So there was a small group of deaf people that would exchange with the hearing high school. So some of the hearing students would go to the deaf class to see, what it looks like, and then we went to the hearing class to just experience it, and that was way more challenging because the teachers, would be speaking so quickly, and it was really overwhelming. Some of the teachers would speak so fast and writing and talking at the same time. So, I couldn't see what they were saying at all, so that was a big challenge for me. But how can I communicate with them? How do people learn if you can't see their lips? At a deaf school, all of the teachers, they're always standing right in front. You can talk and turn around at the same time. So you write and then you turn around and talk. So that's kind of a hearing culture. That's how people learn a lot more. So it was a lot more challenging in that hearing school for me. And then because I worked for a telephone company, they were all hearing. I felt like it was kind of oppressive to me. It was more pressure, more stress. I had to kind of fight for my rights for myself. Because people would get promotions, and they told me that I couldn't get a promotion. I said I can get a promotion. You see my work is really great, and my performance, everything is really great. So you can see that I can be promoted. I can, but it was never even with the other people. I was a treasury manager for AT&T. Well, now I retired because after 38 years I was working, so I retired 8 years ago.
If you have a phone call from a cell company, how do you know what they're saying?
Oh, I have a video phone. We call it VP. So they have interpreters. They are called video relay service. So that means it's kind of like a third party on the phone. So if I call the person the interpreter will be on the video in the middle. So whatever, if I want to call the doctor, for example, I will give the number to the interpreter, they call the doctor, and then they talk, obviously, and the interpreter will listen to what they're saying and interpret to me. So then when I'm signing, the interpreter will talk to the doctor. So they see it.
I remember when I was little, before they had the video phone, that it was called TTY, and it was like text message.
Right, yeah, I forgot about the TTY. That was so long ago. That's all new technology now. It's so much better. So it was a deaf invention in 1960 or 55. It was a huge machine. It was like a telegram kind of thing, how it like goes back and forth, and it was really loud. It would move and be really loud. So you type on it, you put the phone on the machine, like on the modem, and then it would call the other person. If the other deaf person had the same machine, then they could use that. It changed in like 1975. It did change a lot. It became a lot smaller. It was more like a computer screen. So they could type, put the phone on it still, and it would just, you could read the type. And then when you say GA, that means go ahead. That means, okay, it's your turn to talk to the next person. If you say bye, you put SK, and that means hang up. So now, everything is new. The video phone, it's so much easier on the phone. We can just sign, they talk. We can, FaceTime we use also, WhatsApp. You know, so many different things now. There's some positives, some negatives.
Have cochlear implants ever been an option for you?
Well, I grew up with hearing aids. If people want that, then that's fine. Some parents will listen to the doctor right away and give their, like a kid, young cochlear implants. But in my opinion, it's nice to have options. You know, to see what the kid actually wants. There is some negative and some positive about that as well.
What if you were alone in your house and there was an emergency or something and you couldn't hear?
I have an alarm system. I have an alarm clock. So, you know, like if the babies cry, if they have like a monitor or whatever, then it will start flashing a light, or it will vibrate. So it will like alert me. Or if a doorbell, we have a light system. A smoke alarm also has like lights flashing. Today's technology. The doorbell, we have the Ring doorbell camera. So it just goes right to my phone.
Have there been any advances in hearing aids in the last 10 to 20 years that have improved your experience?
For hearing aids, well, I went to the audiologist. They said the same thing, like everything has been the same.
It's the same?
So it hasn't, it just depends on the individual. For example, the word hearing impaired, that's definitely not what we want to use. A lot of people use it still. But you can say deaf or hard of hearing. That's a good term to use. Hearing loss, that means you're hearing and you can hear while you're growing up, but then when you become older, if you lose the hearing, that's hearing loss. That they probably wouldn't know signs, so they would call them hearing loss. They have hearing loss. But deaf and hard of hearing, usually they'll know signs. It's a community and it's a culture, and they have clubs and stuff. So the government does put that hearing impaired, but our deaf community is really against that. We're trying to change that.
What were some things you did to help your kids learn and speak and write when they were little?
So we taught a lot of sign, obviously sign language. We taught them everything in school. If they did science or math or whatever, we would teach them in sign language, my wife and I. They learned a lot of signs. They grew up with us, but they both speak very well. I remember my wife's parents, her father was concerned if they both can speak well or not. If they wanted to have them be sent to speech therapy, and he said no. You know, I think that they're pretty good. And they learn from just out and around too in school and things. So.
Being deaf, do you learn in ways that might be different than learning as a hearing person?
You know, the difference between hearing and deaf is really the culture. There's a whole different cultural aspect. So, deaf culture, for example, in the kitchen, whatever, in the table, when you're eating on the table, if you bang on it and it's really loud, that's, you know, for communication. Where hearing culture, if you did that, it's always like nice and quiet. You know, they talk at the table, kind of more quiet. So it's much different, like culturally in that way. Deaf people are very direct when they're speaking. Like they'll say, oh, "Who's that?" and they'll really point at the person. You know, that shirt, that red shirt, that person has a red shirt. Who is that? And like point right at them. Deaf people are just very direct and kind of blunt in that way. They're not like big, kind of beat around the bush like hearing people do. You know, hearing people are like try to kind of whisper. That person in the red shirt with the blonde hair. You know, they don't like point or they don't make it like obvious. That's a big difference in cultures too. The reason why deaf people do that is because it's way more visual language. Everything is visual. Where hearing people, they depend on their ears. They depend on hearing things more. So it's a little bit different cultures.
We learned that sometimes if you lose one of your senses, like hearing, your other senses could become stronger. Are there any of your senses, like sight or taste, stronger than the average person's senses because you are deaf?
I'm very strong visually. You know, I look at everything. I'm always really attentive and observant. Because I can't hear. We have to see much more. When I'm driving, I always have to look around a lot more. You know, there's lots of all the way through mirrors. I'm always looking in. You know, we have to be very strong visually.
Even though you can't hear, is there any instrument you like to play?
Guitar. I feel the vibrations in the guitar. And the drum too. I really like the drums.
Did your parents, family, and friends learn sign language to help with communication?
So my mother, she passed away when I was only 2. And so it was only me and my father and my sister. We'd had that home sign language that I was explaining, pretty much home only. My 4 cousins are deaf from my mother's side. And so they signed really well. But they went to a different school. New York City has like 12 different schools. Now it's much less. There's a lot more mainstream schools.
Do you do any volunteer work that involves helping other people that are deaf?
Yes. Sometimes I use a DI, which is a deaf interpreter. So example, like in a prison. If a deaf person is in prison, if I was the deaf interpreter, I would go, and then they would also have a hearing interpreter go as well. So if the deaf person is from a different country, or doesn't know sign language so well, or American Sign Language, if they were arrested for whatever reason, I would go as a deaf interpreter to kind of gesture more, like use a different sign language. It's all sign languages are different, and in each country it's not like a world language. So I will try to kind of gesture with them, figure out what's going on, and then sign American Sign Language to the interpreter, to the hearing interpreter, so that they can speak in English to the judge or the police or whoever. So go back and forth in that way, kind of go down the line. So that's a really good way for deaf people to help deaf.
How would you explain what hearing sounds like with a hearing aid in?
I heard you now.
Well, I just heard you. I heard your voice. Just a little bit.
The pie is
It depends. Like sometimes I will hear words.
More of the time.
Most of the time with music, I'll hear just the music. If I know the song, then I will be able to hear the words with the music.
My favorite plane.
Like an airplane. If there's an airplane outside, I usually can hear the plane flying over. I'll kind of look around like, where is it? Because it's pretty noisy. Cars, if they're honking the horns, I can hear that. Or if it's a big truck, it's really loud and strong, I can kind of hear it go by. I can kind of identify some things, some sounds like that. But not birds. There are little birds in the tree. My friends are like, oh, there's birds tweeting, whatever. I can't hear that. It's really low.
Is it challenging to communicate with others in emergency situations?
Yes. Yeah, definitely a challenge. So one of my friends is deaf, and they were in a car accident and ran away. When the cops came, they were trying to blame my deaf friend because of miscommunication. They didn't understand, what he was trying to explain. So because my friend doesn't speak very well, and the cop was not. Oh, my friend, when he's signing, he doesn't move his lips or anything either. So I did actually help him. It's a lot of challenge usually to talk to the police. I was trying to help him explain to the other person hit him and ran away. Then finally the police understood because the person, my friend was just signing and not speaking or kind of moving his mouth. He can voice, but it's not, it's not very clear. I do speak a little more clearly than he does, so.
It looks like either all of it or most of it. Sign language, was it hard to learn when you were a kid?
I did learn a lot from the deaf school because I grew up there. There were deaf people all around. All of my friends, all of their parents were deaf also, so that really influenced me to learn sign language. Or in high school, I would look up to them, so they were signing, I would kind of watch them. Some teachers who were deaf, they would kind of quietly sign so that I could learn the words that how to actually sign. That was kind of my experience growing up. Remember, I was just telling you that I lived in the dorms at a deaf school. So I was on the third floor, it was guys, second floor was girls, and everyone really hung out with each other, so we all signed together, so we really learned a lot from each other. When you all are learning, it obviously depends on the person, but it just depends on your motivation if you want to learn or not. Sometimes I would hang out with friends, just hang out with their families, and that's really how we just picked it up. For interpreters, they do go to school to learn, for mostly for 4 years. To learn about deaf culture and deaf education, how to learn sign language in class. Sometimes they'll go out and go to deaf clubs and hang out with more deaf people so that they can learn. That's why we have a certification from school for being an interpreter. Okay.
If you're ordering food or fast food, how do you interact with them?
I just use my phone. Usually I have an app. I'll order the food from the app and then I'll go pick it up. Or if I go into the restaurant, I'll just show on my phone what I want. I'll just text whatever I want and show them. Or I'll see, on the menu at a restaurant, I'll just point to whatever I want there.
To keep going with the same question, do you ever go through drive-thrus and have a hard time communicating?
I never really go drive-thru. Yeah, I don't. I have to walk in. That's a pretty good question, though. Some deaf people, they will do the drive-thru, and then they'll give them a paper written down of exactly what I want, at the window. When you drive in with a sign and they're talking, obviously we can't hear what they're saying out the little intercom. So I'll just have to drive to the window to give them a paper, tell them what I want to order.
When you were a
kid in school, did you have to learn sign language in like a different language?
Not sign. No. We did have language like Spanish and French in the class, so just for reading and writing, but not for sign language. I did meet some international deaf people that came, like at a deaf club or an expo or something like that. So everyone will hang out together. I did actually learn from them.
Is there a universal sign language?
I know the UK, British Sign Language, they do have, it's an international sign language, but I don't know it.
Have you ever struggled with like the volume of your voice? Have you ever been like
struggled with? Say again.
The volume of your voice. For
hearing people, like if I meet them for the first time, I will tell them that I'm deaf. Sometimes the person, will talk really loud after I say that, and that's not necessary, really. It's fine to not talk so loud. A lot of people think that they have to yell to me in order to understand. Just to talk normally is fine, and then I can hear a little bit better from that. If my hearing aid, if I have to turn it down, if they keep talking really loud, I'll have to actually turn the hearing aid down.
What would you say is the greatest positive of your life that has come from being deaf? I'm really strong with positivity, and I really enjoy teaching. All education is really important. And I really like to encourage the deaf community and the hearing community, to get together. I really feel positive about that. Just kind of being excited about bringing them together. And today I feel so great. I'm really happy to be here so I can teach you all about this.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Or this is clapping inside.
Yeah.